All right. My name is Yelena, and I'm Cognos Analytics System Administrator, and I'm also one of the faculties at University of Maryland Global Campus. So the purpose of tonight's session is to help you get started with using Cognos Analytics. And here is the agenda for tonight. But before we do that, I need to tell you that tonight I'm going to cover a lot of information. It's going to be a lot, big session. Trust me, you will need to watch the recording more than once. You will need to watch this recording more than once because we are covering a lot. So we're going to start in the beginning. I'll show you how to access the Cognos Analytics environment. And I already set up all of your accounts. I'll show you how to use the interface. We're going to talk about data sets and data module. We're going to talk about data preparation, data exploration, and etc. All right. So let's go ahead and keep rolling. What is Cognos Analytics? Well, the whole idea here, it's an intuitive application. I can import my data, and without writing any Java code, without writing any Python or R code, I'm going to get useful insights from my data. And it's going to be in a natural language that the human can comprehend. And you can just drag and drop data on canvas and you get the insights, right? And the system is going to recommend you visualizations based on what you're looking at the moment. And also you can see the data that is being visualized, and you can do reports which are not covered in this course, but just in general, keep in mind you can do them. Now, this is very important. You want to avoid using your browser back button because you might lose all your work. Deletions cannot be undone because this is not your PC, right? There is no recycle bin, so you cannot undo anything that you delete. If you delete if you delete the data source, your visualizations where you use the data as a source will become invalid. You cannot fix that. Then you won't be able to copy and paste text from PC directly. You have to use the clipboard, and I'll show you. All right. So you want to always save your work, and please, please, please start working on assignment early. Anything could go wrong and we don't know, right? So how do you access your account? First of all, you're going to copy this vdi.umgc.edu in your browser, right? And this is a single sign-on page. So basically, if you logged in another tab into your classroom, you will be straight taken to this page, right? If not, then you're going to be asked to enter your university credentials, which is the same credentials that you use to access your classroom, right? Which is your student email, I believe, and also your password. The first part of your student email address is important because this is your student ID, right? So when I created your Cognos account, that's what I did. Well, I used your student ID as your Cognos ID. So basically, to launch Cognos application, see this? This is a page when you log in. You're gonna click on this IBM Cognos icon, and here is, I'll show you how to remember this. Here, your username and your username is your university username. So if you look at the university email that ends with student.umgc.edu, right, the first part of that email is your university username. For the password, this is what I did. The password must contain a number, and it must contain a special character, and must contain uppercase letter. So what I did was I took the word welcome, right, capitalized the first letter, then I must have a number. So the easiest way was to replace the letter E with number 3, because number 3 is located above letter E on the keyboard. And then I put an exclamation point, okay? So everybody's password, this is everybody's password. So I'm gonna go ahead and log in, but for this purpose of this demonstration, I'm not using my admin account, right? What I will do is I have a separate account called demo, and it has the same permissions that your student Cognos Analytics account has. So after this session, if you have not tried accessing your student accessing your Cognos account after this session, please try that. And if there are any issues, you would need to submit the Salesforce case. All right, so let's log in. I'm gonna use my demo account, and you're gonna be using your student account, right? Your student user ID and the password, right? The password that I put on the slide. And it's also in the instructions, right? The instructions for the assignment due next week. Okay, now, very important, you have to submit the assignment due next week to unlock assignment 2, because the purpose of the assignment due next week, but I recommend do it as soon as possible. The goal is to show your instructors that you know how to access your account and basically to get started, right? So here, what am I looking at? This is a welcome page of the Cognos Analytics application. The middle section, it's called Canvas, and what I see in here depends on the page that I'm on. Here, I've got several sections. Well, this is a home page, right? Now, my content, those are the files that are accessible only to me. Only I can have access to this, right? No one else can. So this is my file. I just uploaded it, right? I just saved the copy before the session. You won't have access to upload the data, but I'll show you where all the data is that you need to use for assignments. So here it comes. So my content is your files. Team content, there are a few things going on in here. First of all, this folder, calendars, get started, simple, and templates. Those folders are pre-installed with the software, right? So there are some simple visualizations that you can just look, you can explore, right? This folder is the folder that I created for you. So let's open this. Let's see what's going on in here. I have a folder, separate folder for each assignment. And in each folder, you'll find the data that you need to use for that assignment. Like, for example, next week, right, we have this assignment get it started due. But I would recommend that you guys get it out of the way as soon as you can, because assignment 2 really takes time, all right? So here, this is the data that you're gonna use for that assignment, get it started. Here is your data for assignment 2, right? Here is the data for 3 and 4. Well, assignment 3 and 4, you would use the same data set because assignment 4 is a continuation of the assignment 3. So you're gonna pick one and stick with one, right? Etc. And here is the walkthrough data. So this is a file that I'm gonna be using today. If you want to follow along this video, this is where the file is, and you would need to make a copy of that file to your content area. So see, everything that's in here, team content, you can only read it, right? You can browse the folder, you can read, right? Open the files to read only, but you cannot write anything to this folder. So what you're gonna do for your very first assignment is this. You're gonna be using the data set, and this is the insurance data. This is what you will do. You're gonna click here to open, this is called actions menu. And what you'll do, you're gonna click on copy or move, right? So by default here, it selected the team folder. You want to click here, which is my content, right? And what you have to do is you're gonna click on copy. You cannot click on move because move removes the file from original location, but you don't have the write privilege, right, to the shared folder. So it must be copied to, right? You copying it to. And now if I go to my content, I created a copy of that file. And you are asked to do some exploration, right? Oh, okay, I hope it makes sense. Another section that we have here, it will show what we recently accessed. At the moment, there is nothing in here. And also in this middle section, it's going to show you anything that you recently accessed. It could be data module, or it could be data exploration, or we're going to get to it later in the next session. We're going to get to the dashboard and to the stories. All right. So now, so that was this. Our next thing is a search. So sometimes you're going to have a lot of work that you've done and you might not remember where exactly you save it. So if I type something here, right, I will be able to find all of the files that contain the files that I have access to that contain the word weather, right? I must have access to those files, etc. Right? So what I did was I created the playlist, and I'll give you the link, and I have a detailed video on how to use the search functionality. Now, I hope that makes sense. Another thing that you can do in my content is that, well, as you're working in your assignment, your area is going to get busier. You can organize the stuff into folders and subfolders. So when you click on this plus sign here, you can select new folder, and you can put something like assignment 2. And you can save all your assignment 2 files in there, in that subfolder, okay? I'm just giving an example that it's possible to create folders and subfolders in your My Content area, all right? So what else do you see here? This is just the menu. Anything that you have open, it's gonna show up in this menu, right? So this is just information about the user, a personal menu, all right? So let's go back and let's go back to the slides. So I went over, yeah, one thing I have not went over yet, it's a copying. So basically, if you click here, see that there is a little like slide out panel. This is where the clipboard is. So in order to copy the text from your PC into the remote PC, you would have to copy that clipboard, the text into this clipboard first, okay? You would have to copy it here, and then from this clipboard to of wherever you want to copy. All right, so that's an important step. Then I show you what the other buttons mean, but you won't be able to upload any files that has to do with system settings. All right, but you just know how to close the menu bar. You know how to see the full screen, that part, and also how to use the clipboard. So make sure that you know it. Right, and this is it's at the top where you open this panel. All right, so here, what I just did, I spelled out the interface part that I just showed you, right? Now, I showed you where to access the preloaded data for your assignments, and I preloaded the data for you, right? Tonight, we're gonna be using claims and weather data. What does the data track? It tracks the customer information, including the state the customer is from, the claim, the car insurance claim amount, right, and the claim type. It's an information about the customer, information about the vehicle, information about the claim. And we are trying to predict or estimate what's the total claim amount, right? So we know the gender, we know somebody's employment status, we know income, etc., right? And we know what type of coverage the person has and what type of vehicle the person drives and the type of accident, if it's a collision or something like that, right? So now pay attention over here. You notice that some records are missing values. Like see this row in here, row number 7. I have effective to date missing, I have education missing, I have coverage missing, right? So I have some missing data here, right? And we'll talk about it, it's important. Next thing is, I have to talk to you about the differences between data set and data module. For your very first assignment, you're gonna be using the data set. The data set is just a raw CSV or Excel file. It was uploaded by me in this case, and it wasn't stored it's stored in a columnar format, but it was uploaded, and you cannot make any changes to the data directly. You cannot add any calculations to it. You cannot preview the data, right? So, and you can to create the data set, you can take a subset of the data module or you can upload, right? What is data module? Data module allows you to do the customizations. You can add filters, different hierarchies, groupings, then you can add the calculations, etc., right? The filters. And this will be available everywhere where you use the data module as a data source for your visualizations. So then data module in general, just remember that it can be used as a source for another data module. You may preview data directly. And in general, we're not going to do it in this course, but the data module may combine data from multiple sources. It's just in general for you to remember. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our first data module. So there is more than one way to do that, but one way is that, look, I'm going to go to my content, and this is my data that I want to use. I'm going to click to open the actions menu. Then I'm going to say, what, create data module, right? Simple so far. So let's take a look at what is this. Here, it tells me this is a file that was used, right? The Excel file that was used to create this data module. In here, I have a list of fields that are in the data, and each field has a different icon. The icon represents the field data type, right? For example, if it's a measure, or if it's just text, or if it's just a date, that's a date field. You may notice that the row ID column is grayed out. Why? Because that column is hidden. In other words, hidden column can be used in a data module as part of the calculations, but they're not available for users to be used in visualization. So the user cannot use them in a visualization, while on a data module, you may use them to define some of the calculations, all right? So that's what hidden means. It's hidden from the user's view. All right. Now here, if we click like this here, I can preview my data. You need to make sure that grid is selected. And what is this? If we look here, those are the column names, right? And notice here, column name is gray out because this column is what? Hidden, right? So you can do the sorting. At the moment, there is no sort, but take a look. If I go here, I can look at my properties of the column just by clicking on this ellipsis and selecting properties, right? So what properties do I see? Row ID is a column label, right? Hide from users, it means that users won't see it. Expression, this is basically taking it the row ID, it's taking it straight. It's not doing anything to manipulate the original data, right? So now let's go back. I'm going to close this. And this is called the calculation editor, by the way, and we'll talk about it more. Now, usage is identifier, which makes sense, right? Aggregate. Aggregate tells us in general, if I was going to summarize the data, it tells me how the data is being summarized. If I'm taking average, or if I'm taking a count, or if I'm taking a sum. Data type is integer, right? So in here, comments, this is just basically for you. Sometimes you want to write down what the purpose of the field is, right? But the screen tip is what the user will see if they hover over that field in the visualization, right? And you can also specify the sorting. And there are more, some settings, some more advanced settings here too, all right? So support null values, it means that if the column could have any blank values, because like if I go to this column in here, oops, like I know that my effective to date, it has, in my education has a blank, right? So if I go click on this column, and if I view properties for this column, see this, I had support null values. So somewhere there is a row where the value is missing, right? All right, so this one is this is a data type, right? Now, one thing that I showed you how to access the property just by clicking here. You can also access these properties by clicking on the column heading and select properties, right? That will do the same. And see this column, it's not hidden from users. To hide, I would click here, right? Hide, unhide. So suppose that I made it hidden. Now I want to undo it. Here it is. You can undo it here. Up to a certain number of changes, you can undo and redo, right? Another thing is that, take a look at this. Do you see this little asterisk here? It means that the file that I just created was not saved. So what you need to do is you need to save it. And to save it, you go here and you're going to click on save, right? And you want to save it in your content, my content, right? And you're probably going to call it something like claims and weather data module. Claims and weather data module. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save it now. Okay, I saved it, right? So let's go back. Let's go to the next step. This is how you create a data module and you saved it. Always, always save your work. So what I did here, I went over this interface for you, right? This is what you see right now on the data module, and I went over different buttons, different options, but yet there are going to be more, and I'll show you what we'll do now. Oh, and you can undo up to 20 changes, okay? The last 20. I showed you what this is, right? Aggregation is basically how a column is summarized. Like, for example, if I was going to look at the total claim amount, right? If I'm going to look at it by state, I probably want to see the average total claim amount by state, right? Then I would have to make the change. So probably, in fact, I want to make the change, right? So let's see. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to find my field called total claim amount, right? So let's go to properties, and I'm going to make this change. The reason I want to change it here is because I want this change to be available in all visualizations that I create. So every time when I'm looking for this total amount, I want to be looking at the average, right? So you can change that, and you're asked to play around with this in one of the assignments, in your first assignment. I think you're asked to play around with aggregation. You can change it in data exploration, or you can change it in data module, right? If you change it in data module, the change will be available everywhere, right? Where you use the data module for data. All right, so we talked about this part. Now we're going to talk about the data preparation. What's the data preparation? We add filters. Now, we also talked about hiding certain columns from the view. I mentioned that, right? You may change column properties. This is what I just did. I changed how the column is summarized. I'll show you how to handle the missing values, and I also have some videos on that. And well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna first filter the rows with missing values in the effective date column. Sometimes it depends on how many values are missing, and it depends on how many columns are missing the value. But sometimes you don't want to delete the rows with missing values. You can do something called the imputation. So basically, you may set the missing value to the column average. It's possible, right? And if most of the values in a column are missing, you may consider hiding the column. If it's a categorical column, right, you may consider treating it missing values as a separate category, like, for example, unknown, right? It's most common. Like, for example, if the column was like a grade, right? If the value is missing, it could be unknown. You could record missing as unknown. In general, you want to handle outliers, which is unusually large numbers, right? You could do the basic calculations, field concatenations, and custom calculations. You have an expression editor. You can do data groups and navigation paths. And I have a video on more advanced data groups and advanced navigation paths. Now, we're gonna talk about the field. Well, first, I already showed you how to hide the column, right? So we can skip that slide. Now let's talk about filters. So what is a filter? It specifies the conditions that the row must meet to stay, right? So the rows that don't meet that condition get omitted. There are two types of filters. Remember that. There is a filter called embedded filter. So once I defined it, it will be applied immediately. I will immediately see rows that don't meet the condition filtered out. There is also something called selectable filter where you defined it, but it's not applied immediately. You may apply it when you are working on specific visualizations, right? The filter can be defined on a table, or it can be defined on a column. And you may also define multiple filters on the same data module. You can have multiple selectable filters, right? Okay, let's look next one. So here I'm going to show you an example on how to create an embedded filter. So what I want to do is I want to exclude all rows that don't have the effective to date. So here, one thing to pay attention to is this. I'll show you. I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna try to create the new filter. But look, this is my data set, right? I'm gonna click here to open the context menu. Take a look. There are two filters here. You want to select manage filters. In this case, you want to select manage filter, right? Now, what you want to do is, instead of selecting specific columns, you want to select via expression editor, and you're gonna click on add filters, right? So in here, I want to put my filter name descriptive. This is very important. You need to know what the filter is doing. So I'm gonna say this, effective to date, not missing, right? Not missing. So now what do we need to do? We need to specify an expression where effective to date is not missing. How do we do it? Well, let's take a look at this. This is an expression editor here, right? If this icon is selected, I'm looking at the list of columns in my data. When I click here, those are a bunch of different operators and summary functions that I have available, right? So what we need to look at this, in this case, I want to look at effective to date. So I can just drag and drop in here. And what about effective to date? I want to say it's not missing. So this is an operator. And I need to find this here is not missing. That's what we're looking at, right? Is not missing. Now, here we go. What do I need to do next? I need to validate my expression all the time. I'm going to click here, validate. And if you see this green check mark, it means that there are no errors, no syntax error, no issues. Next thing, you don't want to click on next, because if you do that, you won't save the filter. You need to click on OK button over here, right? So see, now it's refreshing, and I got rid of the rows where effective to date was missing, right? And I also showed you how to create the filter at the same time. So we did two birds in one stone, huh? I showed you how to create the embedded filter, and I showed you how to handle the missing value just by filtering out the rows, right? Now, next thing is we're gonna look at another type of filter. This is called the selectable filter. So what I want to do is I want to say my policy type contains personal and my vehicle size contains small. So I want to look at the claims for the personal vehicle, right? For personal policy type, small vehicle size. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna copy and paste this just to demonstrate how to copy and paste for you. And also there is a little typo in this, and I'll show you. Now, you need to create a new filter, right? In this case, this is what you will do. Since it's a selectable filter, you're gonna go here, you're gonna select filter, right? This is gonna be a selectable filter. Now, to copy the expression, I put the expression in a clipboard, right? I put it in a clipboard from my PC. I need to click here. This is the clipboard, right? I paste it here first, Control V. This will paste the expression here in the clipboard. Next, what I need to do is I need to go where I want to paste it to, right? Okay, Control V. Got it. Now, I pasted it, but take a look at this. Do you see the problem here? The problem is this Microsoft Word code, but let's see what happens. I'm gonna validate, I'm gonna click validate. And if you see this little X here, it means that your expression has some kind of syntax error. And this is specific scenario, it's this. So you want to make sure that this thing, like character values, that they're green, right? And you put them in a single quote. But the quote cannot be from the PowerPoint. It cannot be from Microsoft Word. It just has to be the quote, right? Here we have to name the filter. Very important. We need to name it. We need to have a descriptive name. I'm gonna say this personal policy for small vehicle, right? And I will show you later why I'm doing it for small vehicle. So this is a filter name, and I validate it, right? That the filter is working as expected. And another thing, and I can do it here, this is called the pretty-fy. So it can just line up the code, okay? And just make it easier to read. All right, so now, how do I exit this? I do not do this. I scroll down and I click on OK. If you notice that the data is not refreshed, the data is not filtered because this is a selectable filter. It's a filter that I can turn on and off, right? So if you scroll down, do you see this? You still have a vehicle size small, even though the filter is supposed to eliminate it. It did not happen because I did not actually, it's a selectable, right? It does not apply right now. It's not a visualization where specified to use the filter, right? Another thing is that note where it appears. It's going to be listed here on, above the column names, right? When you will see that when you open the, when we start doing the data exploration, you're also going to see this panel with the column names, and this is going to show up in there, right? It's a filter definition. While we are still in data module, you can edit your filter, right? So here you're going to click your edit filter, and that's it. You can make changes to it, right? But only in the data module where you defined it, right? So here, what we did was we created the selectable filter, right? But remember, there is more. We also have not discussed how to fill the missing values. Suppose that now I don't want to delete my missing rows with missing values, because sometimes it may result in losing data, right? Depending on how many rows are there. I want to instead to fill it in with the average. So my income is missing some values, and I want to set them to the average income, column average. So let's do it. What I have to do is I need to go back here, and I need to find the income. If I don't see the column right away, I can type it here, and I will see it. Now let's do this. This is income, right? Now. Actually, let's go to the, we have to open the properties, right? If we open the income properties, and this is the expression, we're gonna edit the expression. And what we're gonna do is this. The idea is if income is missing, then we're gonna put it equal to what? To the average, right? If it's not, then as is, keep it as is. So the function is, it's rather the construct, right? It's a construct, if then else. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag and drop in here, right? So the expression, the last one, right? The last expression, this is gonna be income. Well, the whole idea is this. If certain condition is true, right? In each case, what is the condition? The income is not missing, right? So let's put this condition in here. I'm gonna go down here, and I'm gonna say income, right? Condition is income. And I need to delete this because this is just the syntax. If income is what? Is not missing, right? Income is missing, rather, is missing. And since there is something called type ahead, right? Income is missing, then what we're gonna do here? We want to take an average, right? Average. And what do we take an average of? Income, right? So it's this, again, we're taking an average of an income. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Let's see what's gonna happen. You have to validate, I think it's valid, but this could be a little bit hard to read, so you want to do this. This is just for you, so you know that this is if then else, it's a single statement, right? So now let's go ahead and let's go ahead and just click OK, right? Click OK, that's it. And now we're gonna save it. See this little asterisk? It means that my last change or last changes were not saved. So I did that. Now, if we go back to the income column, you might notice that some of the values look kind of like not rounded, something like that, right? Because I'm just taking the average. It's here. This is a column average. Well, in theory, I should have rounded it, right? Well, just keep that in mind that I should have rounded it. But it's an average income in the whole data. All right, that's what it's doing here. Okay. And also, I created a video on how to handle the categorical variable with missing value. So now we talked about that. Let's move on. Next thing is, oops, we're gonna talk about the data exploration next. Here, topics can be covered in different order, okay? So first of all, let's go ahead and close this out. Well, what is data exploration? It's just a set of visualizations. We use it to get insights from our data, to get quick insights. So I'm gonna go to my content, right? And I need to use, this is data module, right? For assignment 2, starting from assignment 2, you're gonna use the data module as a data source. So you need to go here and you can click create data module. Alternatively, you could do it from here because this is the file that you accessed recently, right? Or from my content or from recent, right? I just do it from my content sometimes. Look, so this is data module. I'm gonna click here because I want to use this data module as a source, and I'm gonna say create exploration, right? Well, what this is gonna do, it created my new exploration workbook, but let's take a look. Do you see it sounds familiar here? This is the data set that was used to build the data module. What is this? This is our selectable filter. But if I did not use the descriptive name, there is no way to see what this was called. Look, I clicked on properties. There is no way to know how this was defined without going back to data module, okay? So very important, you want to make sure that the filter names are descriptive because there is no way to tell how they were defined without going back to data module. We don't want this back and forth, right? All right, so that's similar. You've got similar column properties, and similarly, you may change the aggregation. Like for example, see that this is an income, and I can do this. I can go to properties, and for aggregation, I want to see the average, right? But wait a minute, the change that I just made will be applicable only to this data exploration. I won't be able to see my change in the data module, right? Only here. I won't be able to see this change in another explorations that I create from the data module. Okay, so I'm gonna go click close and let's save it. Always save it, and you want to select my content, and let's say claims and weather exploration. Okay, okay. Now I did save. Okay, look. Next thing is this. I'm gonna close this. That. I'm gonna look at this. Well, what is this? Let's see. Sometimes you have to play with the zoom. All right. So as my data, as I was uploading the data to the shared folder at some point, a Cognos Analytics was running analysis of the columns that I have in the data. So what it's doing here, it put together a nice relationship diagram for me, where each pin, right, or each dot stands for the column name, and the connecting line shows if the columns are well, if there is a relationship between the columns, and the strength of the relationship, to get the strength of the relationship, you need to hover your mouse over the line. Like for example, I see the line between claim amount and vehicle class, and the relationship strength is 23%. This becomes important. This is very important when we look at the driver analysis later on. But what is this here? These are potential targets. So target is what you want to do with the data, what you want to predict, what's your purpose. more likely with this data, you're going to be working on the total claim amount. Well, it's suggested that sometimes you may want to predict the monthly premium out, but well, yeah, but it's not the best target. The best target here is a total claim amount. Predict, right? Another thing is this. I click on this. What happens in this panel here? It's going to show me some visualizations for the columns that I just selected, right? So these are those as the visualizations for the columns that I selected. Now, this exploration, nothing but a set of cards. Exploration contains a set of cards. And to add the exploration to my set, right, now this is a suggested starting point. I'm going to click on this, add card. What this will do is it will add this exploration to the set of my exploration called cards. So here, this is important vocabulary. This is called a card. Visualization inside my exploration workbook is called card, okay? So here what I did, this is one way to add the visualizations. Notice that when I select two of these, right, I click the Control key in Windows, and I'm gonna select these two. My visualizations are going to update to show the relationship between total claim amount and monthly premium outer. Well, did you notice that? See, this is what it's doing. And I click on see more to see additional visualizations, right? Well, I need to select something, and just to put, I just select something here, and I'm gonna add this to my project, right? Oh, this is a total claim amount by the payment status. Well, which makes sense, right? Because you have payment status here too, right? Well, some connections are primary and some connections are the secondary, because sometimes the two columns are not connected directly, but you can get through, like for example, see this number of policies and marital status. Sometimes we don't see the line between these two vertices directly, but you can go from, you could have connection from number of policy to employee status, and then from employee status to marital status. You see that? But let's see here, you can just select anything and you can add this to you're adding these cards, right? This is called the card. Okay, so this part is done, right? But this is not the social network. This just shows the strengths of the relationships between your column. Next thing here, we can go in different directions here. I can show you, well, we need to look at multiple ways to add your visualizations, right? I can just do this. I can do the new card, right? Just go do new card. Then I'm gonna go to my data. And what I can do is just do this. Income, I just drag and drop. And what it will do, it shows me it should show me the average income. This is the average income, right? And here, when I click this as an insights, right? This giving me the insights. But then I can click on something else, drag and drop education. Let's see what it's doing here. It's gonna show me the average income by education. Well, do you see this? I just dragged and dropped, right? Then what else I could do? Yet I can do another one, and I can find my income again. So my income is income. Well, if I don't see it for unknown reason, I can always go in and type, right? It's income. Okay, here. Well, let's see. I edit this and I edit this, and I'm expected to see the histogram. Let's see. Oops, nope. In this case, it did not do it, because what you have to do is you have to do the binning here. What you need to do, you have to do this outer group, and you want to do this is going to be the histogram. See this? Okay, and you also want to do this here. Do the outer group. Okay, outer group, and let's see what happens. Oh, okay. Well, here what it's doing basically, it's not quite the histogram, but it's kind of like showing me the range of the income and the range of the it just showing me the range against the range. So this is not what I wanted to do. So now I created the plot, but this is not really what I want to do. What can you do here? Well, this is called the data slots, right? In this specific case, you're specifying the x-axis and y-axis. And if you see this little asterisk right here, if you see this little asterisk, it means that it's not the column that I might be interested. Well, it's a column that I must specify in order to see my plot, right? I must specify something here in order to see the plot. But I did not do this successfully, right? So what we need to do in here is this. We can change it, right? We can change any column. Okay, so now let's do this. Let's go ahead and delete the x-axis. Let's do remove column. And instead, but look at it, my plot is gone now. Why did it go? Because I never specified what x is, right? So I can just do the state, and you will see here, just gonna do by the state. It's not useful either, right? So basically the visualizations that you are doing, the visualization that you're showing depends on data you have. But here, I know how to fix it. You just need to turn off the auto group and it will do it. Okay. In this case, you're doing that's a dot plot. It's showing you for each state, it's going to show you the average income. Okay. That's what it does. Now you can do it this way. Another way you can add visualizations is this. This is your little friend. It allows you to explore data, and I created a video on this. Okay, I created a video on this. So what you do here, first of all, when you type data, it's going to give you the data that you have access to. Now here you can click on the data set, or you can also type short source, claim, and weather data module, right? So this is the name of the file. And this will give you the list of column names in the data. And for each column, you're going to see the type, if the column has outliers, right? If it if the repetition of values, and if it's quantitative, right? Or if it's categorical. Like for example, employee status, this is a categorical, okay? So this is what it gives you. But then I can go ahead and click here on income, right? So that's going to give me more information about the income column. And this is, you want to explore details more about the relationship between perhaps income and employment status, right? Or you can also do what influences the column income, right? So, well, here, for example, I want to do what influences income. And this is a list of columns that influence, right? Then I can click on perhaps I want to look at the income and education. Let's see what's going to happen. Right now, it's giving me what? The plot, right? And I can scroll through this plot and I can select the plot that I like, right? So here, this is just the table and etc. So this one is, it's supposed to show me the average income, right? Not the sum, but the average, because this is how I set it. But let's see what's gonna happen now. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna select new here, and I want to add this to the visualization. I drag and drop here, and I can add this visualization. Then if I wanted to, I could add stuff further, right? So here I'm showing the income by education, right? I can look at it further if I look at my here, right? So I'm having education. I can also do the color code by the state. Come on, if it works. There we go. Well, see this? You can also do the color code. You use the color code by the state. And if you click on the legend, it's supposed to show you the distribution of the state values. Come on. Okay, so this is going the summary. But I'm not sure why, for some unknown reason. Okay. Oh, this is a conditional formatting. So we can edit the formatting. See this? we can change the distribution of values. Okay, well, just bear it in mind that when you specify the state, you can specify the conditional filter. Okay, well, I click here, and then I can just say that I can just specify, okay, I can specify the edit colors, edit the conditional, but I'm gonna let you explore this, okay? And I can add the filter. Like, for example, suppose that I want to look at only the personal claims with a small vehicle, right? Okay, so okay, let's unfilter this first. Okay, now I want to filter this. This is what I need to do. I do this personal policy for the small vehicle. I just drag and drop. Well, see this, I just drag and drop in this filter slot, and it's gonna filter the data based on what I said, right? Okay. So sometimes if you see this, you guys have to click here and click out. Okay. Oh, it's still doing this. Well, you click on this, that's it. We're done, right? Okay, now so this is doing the average income, and it's showing you the by bachelor degree. But here, if I click on this, you can see more. See this? You can see that you have it correlated with employee status, right, and etc. You got more insight when you click here. In here, this is a filter that we just applied, right? This is a filter we just applied. Now, what else we could do? So we talked about this, right? You can also add a brand new visualization from scratch. Well, and this time, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the spiral model. And what the spiral, well, I would have to select type, I need to scroll, and it's gonna be under here. This is a spiral model. In a spiral model, each column is represented as a pin, and a target is what we are predicting. So in this case, I want to predict the total claim amount. So I'm gonna go drag and drop it here on the target. Okay. Well, here what I see is this. The predictor can be a combination of single column. It can be two columns combination. It can be multiple columns. Okay. So now I can toggle, right? I can see here, this is one-way driver, and I tell you why this is important. Because the one-way driver with the highest predictive strength, is going to be the first column that is used to split the decision tree. When we look at the decision tree, the first splitting column that is used is the column that is the one driver, right? One driver, and it has the highest predictive strength, okay, which is vehicle class in this case, right? So in here you have, this is two drivers. It means it's a combination of two columns, right? And this is a two or more. And this is in this case, I have this combination, and it has 55% predictive strength. One thing to note is that anything with the strength below 10% was omitted, right? So the strength has to be above 10% to see the combination of columns here, okay? And you just hover here, right? And you're gonna see the predictive strength and the columns, right, that I used here. The closer the pin to the center of the bullseye, the stronger is the predictor, okay? Now what we're going to look at, it's going to be slightly different. But look at the driver analysis like this diagram, but it's like sliced. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to add a new card. I'm going to choose type, and this time I'm going to select this driver analysis. And this is going to be very important for your assignment 3. Well, a lot of stuff that I'm showing you today is both assignment 2 and assignment 3. Okay, now let's take a look at the target. The target is what? Total claim amount still, right? Okay, you're gonna be predicting total claim amount. Take a look at this. This is a sliced view of what we were looking at a minute ago, right? The bull's eye diagram. This is a sliced view of it. And here, each dot shows a single driver, two drivers, right, and a combination. Here, you cannot toggle, you cannot uncheck, right? You see all. But what does this do? Let's take a look at this. When I click on this here, it's going to do the visualization for the corresponding driver. Well, see here, this is a total claim amount by employee status, right? It has 11% predictive strength. And the visualizations that it's showing me is determined based on the data type of the driver, right? That's what it's doing here, employee type, right? And here, it just gonna show the average claim amount, right? Well, because that's what I'm looking at, total claim amount by total average claim amount by the employee status. And this is here, this line here shows the overall average, right? Well, if there are more than one column, well, this is a two column, right? More likely I'm gonna see the heat map because the heat map has additional dimension, right? Well, you're showing it by total claim amount, by number of policies, right? And claim amount. So you've got claim amount, total claim amount, and well, total claim amount shows by it's a color code, right? And you're showing it by the claim amount and the number of policies, right? So this is going to be if you have two-way driver, right? And here it's a different visualization. It depends on the data type of the column. However, if you have more than two columns with driver, right? It's going to be what? Decision tree. This is how you can add decision tree visualization. You can just go here and click on a plus sign, or you can also do new visualization and select decision tree. I'm just gonna go here. I'm just gonna click on add. Did it got added? No, it did not. Oh, yes, it did. I have to go here. I'm gonna go to this card right now. Some housekeeping, you may want to close these panels here. Oh, because it has to do with the readability of the tree. The tree paths can be expanded and collided. And collapsed. Let's go ahead and collapse right now. Well, we have to know how to read this tree, right? So let's do this. Well, do you remember what I told you a few minutes ago when we were looking at the bullseye diagram, right? We were looking at the driver, the one-way driver with the highest predictive strength. This is what's used as the first split column, right, to build the tree. And the way we read the tree rules is this. We're gonna say, okay, what type of the vehicle class do we have? If our vehicle class is two-door car or four-door car, we take this path. If it's an SUV or sports car, we take this path, right? But what I did, I collapsed the nodes because for some reason, I decided to stick with this, right? Now, this is unemployment. That's going to be the second column that I'm looking at, right? I'm going to be asking now, is the person employed or is the person is on medical leave or disability or the person is unemployed? I'm going to stick with employed. Then what you're going to do, you're going to select, look at next column and monthly premium auto. And if it's below 94, you take the top, otherwise you're going to take the bottom branch, right? Then you're going to look at vehicle size, and that continues until you leave and until you reach the leaf node. Leaf node is also called the terminal node. It's the last node of the tree. But what I did was now I click on this, and it will highlight the path that I need to traverse to get to this node. But what else do you see? When you hover this, over here, it's going to show you the overall average total claim amount, shows you the standard deviation, and the number of rows that fall into this node. This is about 9,136. And I need to point out that if your data has more than 10,000 records, it's going to take the sample from the data. Okay? If the data contains more than 10,000 records, it's going to just take a sample. All right, so now if I go here, if I hover, it's also gonna give me the number of records. But do you notice that most of your data falls into this here, into this branch, right? So it's a 2 or 4 door car, right? Then most of your data is going to fall in here. Well, because see here, this shows the percentage of data, right? It's 71. And here, if you hover, it's going to give you for this one and for this, right? So this is the least dominant. Luxury car, we have less luxury car. We don't have, let's say, we have a very small amount, only 4% of the cars are luxury cars, just 347, okay? Well, sometimes you're mostly interested to look at the rules that describe most of your data, right? And sometimes not. If something is not frequent, it does not mean it's unimportant, right? But this is how you traverse the tree. Suppose that you have a new car and you know the vehicle class, you know the number of doors, right? Or what type of car is it? You know if the driver is employed or not, you know monthly premium, right? How do we figure out the total claim amount? We have to traverse the tree. And then we're going to look at the color code, right? Darker color code means higher claim amount. And this will just shows you, this you can filter out to show the nodes only with top 5 and bottom 5, top largest or bottom largest values, right? But there is something else in here. So let me go ahead and collapse this thing. Okay, I collapsed, right? Let's look at the sunburst visualization. Because basically what happens is the decision tree visualization, it gives me the rule, right? It gives me the rule. But sunburst visualization, it's going to tell me the ratio of rules to which this rule, it's going to show the ratio, right? The portion of data to which this rule applies. For example, see this? This is all data, right? I'm looking at the vehicle class, and this section, remember about 70-something% is a 2-car, right? Two-door car or the 4-door car. Here, SUV, right? And this is a luxury. Now, what you can do is this, you click here, and as you click here, well, you're expanding it further, but you probably want to do it together with the tree. What I should have done is this. I should have collapsed it. Okay, but as you expand this here, right? As you expand this here, let me collapse this here. I want you to look at this part also. Look, this here, well, what did I just do? I took my 2-door car and 4-door car only, and I split it into unemployed, medical leave, or employed, right? This is a tree diagram. This is exactly what I'm doing. Now here, I can see what percentage of data does this apply to. Well, see this, about 45% of my data is employed, right? 45% is a 2-door or 4-door car vehicle and the person is employed. And then in here, this is a medical leave, it's another 9%. This one here is another 18%. I know that they don't add up to the 100, but the 100 is a full circle, right? This and this. So this one here is a breakdown of the 71%. Now you can further see the breakdown of the employed, right? And etc. It's supposed to be seen just this layer here. Well, see here, you see this. If monthly premium is less than 94, so most of the people have it less than 94. Click, right? Keep going, and etc. Right? So that's a part about the sunburst. This is just shows you can see which rules are the most dominant. On the other hand, you can see which rules are the least dominant, right? Here you can look at that too. Now, another thing is that you're building a tree, and you might be asking, when does it stop? Well, you stop when there is nothing to split on. Then the tree cannot have more than 36 nodes. And also, I believe the leaf node cannot have less than 25 observations. So that's another stopping criteria, right? When you build this tree. All right. And what's happening is that it's using its internal algorithms. It's using some methods behind the scene that it runs for you. Here, this is just the rules spelled out. I'm looking at the highest predicted value here, right? This is the largest one, and you can see that luxury cars probably have the highest claim amount. And this is the employment status. Ooh, now it's saying it can't load the visualization. Well, once in a while it happens, okay? Once in a while it happens, we just need to be a little bit patient. Okay, so that shows this, and this is another one, right? So those are the rules for the most expensive vehicles, how much they cost to the claims. I could also do the oops. What I also could do is I could look at the list, right? I could look at the least expensive claim amount, and to do that, okay, first of all, I need to go back to my visualization. And do you see, guys, what happened? It's because I didn't save the work. I lost something because I didn't save the work before I did the refresh. So avoid using the refresh button. But since I know how to do it, I'm just going to go quickly and recreate it. So what I need to do in here is this. I need to do the new, and I was looking at the decision tree, right? So this is another way to do the decision tree. You're going to go here and you're going to go decision tree, right? And then once you do the decision tree, you have to select the target. And what's going to be your target in here? It's a total claim amount. Well, and do you see how I just lost some work? I just lost some work because I was what? What did I do? I was not careful. I did not save it. Okay, let's do, come on, target. Something is going on today. Oh, here it is. Okay, now. Well, now I'm going to be smart. I'm going to save this, okay? Well, so when you're looking at sandbars, and you can look at the rules. This is basically tells you, this is like a profile of the claim, right? You can describe it, this is a profile of certain claims. And if your claim falls under this profile, this is an estimated claim amount, right? This is an estimated total claim amount. And you see there is only 1% of the cars, right? And I can look at this, I can sort this, and I can look at the smallest, right? This arrow is supposed to sort. So see this? This is the smallest claim amount, and I have 30 records that fall into this. And this tells me here the rule, right? Remember when we were traversing the tree, those are the steps that I would follow to traverse the tree. To look at this rule, right? Another thing that you're asked to do, to build more than one model. Well, to build more than one model, you may want to exclude some of the predictors that you're looking at. So like here, for example, I'm going to do edit drivers. And when I edit drivers, I can choose to, perhaps I don't want to include this, right? I don't want to include claim amount. Then, well, for example, I have a state, right? Probably I don't want to include state code together with a state. I'm going to click now, okay? And it's supposed to refresh the model, right? Sometimes you may do that, or sometimes you may apply filter. You want to look only at the luxury car, perhaps, right? Or you want to look only at specific car model. Well, something like that, right? Your second model that you have to develop could focus on specific aspects, specific types of the car, right? So you have to be a little bit creative here. In assignment 3, you're asked to create 2 models for the same target column, right? For the same column. So you probably could look at the subset of the data, or you can look at the different combination of the column. Well, something like that, right? So this is our decision tree, right? We talked about adding visualizations from this little guy, right? We talked about adding visualizations just by drag and drop fields. We talk about adding visualization just as new visualization, right? And I'm gonna save that. Here, the order is a little bit different. Here, I cover this thing first. Oh, then I need to cover it here too. Well, see here, this is my card, right? I'm gonna take the card here. This is a card, right? Well, this is just this is called visualization card. But what I do here, I can click here and I can see related visualization. Based on visualization I'm looking at, it's trying to tell me what else I could be interested on, right? Like for example, I want to look at the claim amount by marital status. So if I like this, I'm just gonna click here. It's gonna add new card to my visualizations, right? And etc. I can do that. Then if I want to see more, I can click here to see more, right? Another thing what I could do is I could also do, well, I looked at this is related, right? But I could also change, let's close this thing, close. Now I can, if I don't like the visualization type, for example, I can click here and I can change different visualization type, right? I can change my visualization type. Like this is an example. But if I don't like the change, I can still undo, right? Well, here it is. I'm gonna save it now. I don't want to lose the work. Okay. Now here, those are the details, those are the insights. But when you submit, you want to explain it in your own words. You don't want to copy it from here because those insights are from Cognos Analytics. You want to interpret it, right? Trust me, the same data set, when two people write original paper, the paper is going to be different. They see different insights in there, okay? Well, this is just the select tool, don't worry about that. This is a delete. If you don't like the card, you can delete it. And this part we're going to be talking about next time, where if you're reusing certain visualizations a lot, you can pin it. If you're reusing it in the dashboards, okay? So we talked about that piece here. Oh, another thing, we looked at the assistant. It can also be accessible here. I created a detailed video on the assistant, okay? So you can watch the videos that I created for you. Now, we talked about the interface. We talked about adding visualization. Here I was just drag and drop, right? And I'm adding visualizations from the recommended list, right? Or you can drag and drop, or you can do the comparison visualization. We'll talk about that too, hopefully. Okay, now here, this is just I just spelled out what we looked at, right? We looked at this diagram and I spelled out. And remember, the thicker the line, the stronger is the relationship, okay? Well, we looked at the suggested visualizations too. Well, we looked at the embedded assistant, see? I covered all of this stuff. Then if you go back to your embedded assistant, if you want to rerun this command that you already did, well, I did not save it, remember? I did not save it, so I have to type it all over. It's because I did not save my workbook. But take a look at this, right? I can do this, right? I can click here and it's going to rerun the command that I just ran, right? Or I can then, if I reset, it will clear this commands history. But whatever commands history you run in here, you will access. If you have another data exploration workbook, right, you will be able to access this from another workbook too. Okay, unless you clear it. Okay, now, oh, and another lesson learned, please don't click refresh button. I did it because, well, because of that error. It's a mistake, I should have said the word, but please, please, please avoid refresh button because you saw what happened to me. I lost some work, right? So promise you're not gonna do that, okay? Now, well, this is just, I showed you how to use the column details, right? We talked about what influences. We talked about visualizing what influences, right? So you scroll through the list of this and pick any and drag and drop. Should be straightforward, right? Now we're gonna do the navigation pass. What's a navigation pass? It allows you to drill through the data. Well, in this example, I want to see something by the state and location code inside the state. So what do we need to do? First of all, we're gonna click here, right? This is where our the columns are. I'm gonna click here, create navigation path. And what I want to do here is that perhaps I want to look at the state. State is gonna be my first column. And if I don't see it, I just type state and it's gonna show up. Well, state, right? State, come on, state. Oh, here, I have to put it here. Oh, yeah. Now, after this one, what I want to do, I guess it's location code. So I need to put right under. And come on. Okay, here we go. Now what it's going to do is it created the hierarchy. It's going to look at location code inside each state. And by default, it's going to name this state location code. I'm happy. I'm going to click on OK. So why do we need this? Let's take a look at why. You can create the visualizations where you can literally go in and drill down, and I'll show you here. It's in the next one. Well, you can do the heat map, for example, and then you can drill down. So this one, I believe it's a heat map. So let's go here. Let's gonna click on new, single card, choose visualization, and I'm gonna do this one, the heat map, right? It's not this, it's probably parts of the whole. It's a tree map that you need to look at. Well, you're looking at the part of the whole. And here, area hierarchy is this, right? It's this, come on, go. See, what you have to do is you have to hover. Well, you may have to drag the state, actually, let's see. There we go. When you drag the state, it's gonna get this hierarchy too. Okay, now, what do I want to be for the size? And for the size, I want to do, let's do number of customers. So this is gonna do number of customers, right? Well, see this? The size is the number of customers I have in each state. And how do I know what it's doing? Look at the summarize. And it's just gonna do, count distinct. That's correct. Do you know why? Because I'm looking at the number of customers. I'm not looking at the number of claims, right? If I remove the distinct, it's gonna give me number of claims because a customer can have multiple claims. In this specific example, I want to look at the number of customers. This is correct, right? Now here, notice this, I click here, it's gonna tell me what data is being visualized. This is the number of customers by state. But why did I create the hierarchy? It's because I can go in here, I can right click, and I can do this, I can do drill down. Well, this is gonna show me, for that state, it's gonna show me the suburban, rural, and this is urban. Well, look at this. Well, look at my data being visualized. It's looking at the Missouri, and it's looking at a different location within Missouri, right? But don't these three numbers have to add up to the Missouri numbers that showed on a previous visualization before I drilled down, right? And okay, then to exit this, you can do this here, and you go to here, back. It's gonna exit the hierarchy. I created a video for you with 3 levels of hierarchy, right? Oh, and another thing we need to do is we need to clear the state filter. Okay, so let's do save. But please watch the video on 3 levels. First, you watch this because you have to understand the concept first, right? 2 levels, and then watch 3 levels in the video. Okay, now let's go back. We show this one. Calculation. Calculation is something that we use to create new column from existing column. So now we're gonna go back to the data module, but I promise they're gonna be later on, they're gonna be a set of slides that we already covered. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close it. And the good thing is this, I can add a calculation to my data module, right? And then the calculation will be available inside data exploration. But here is the trick. You have to close the data exploration before you make changes to the data module and then reopen. Because if you don't close and reopen, you won't see the change. Okay, so this is a trick. Now, how do we reopen the data module? Do you see it? It's in my recents now. I can just go here and I can select Edit Data Module. Alternatively, I could just click on it, right? Let's go here, this Edit Data Module. Here, I see my data, right? So let's create a calculation. Do you see you have this monthly premium amount? Can't I create a annual premium amount? Yes, I can, right? Well, what do I need to do here? I can do, well, I got so excited. First of all, I need to tell you this. There are 2 types of calculations. 2 types of calculations. One is standalone, and another one is embedded. So what I'm going to be looking at now, I'm going to be creating embedded calculation where the value is stored with each row. So I'm going to create embedded calculation. So how do I do that? I'm going to click here and I'm gonna go to do the calculation, or actually I could even click on columns that I wanted to use a calculation. Well, okay, this is a calculation. Calculation name, I'm gonna call it annual, right? Annual premium, right? Premium. Okay, this is the annual premium. And to do that, I have to look at the monthly premium. Where is the monthly? Monthly premium, monthly premium, and I'm going to multiply it by 12. Okay, this should be easy, right? So far, so easy. But I'm going to show you hard. But before showing you something hard, I need to make sure that I need to make sure that this is clear, right? Now I'm going to click OK. What it does, it added a new column, right? This is an annual premium. It added a new column. This is called an embedded calculation. Sorry, because you're storing this value with each rows, right? For each row, you're storing this value. There is something called the standalone calculation. Like, for example, suppose that I want to know what my average income is, and I can keep it as a standalone. So watch what I'm doing. I'm no longer clicking here. I'm clicking up here, and I'm gonna say new calculation. But in this case, it's gonna be the standalone calculation. So let's say average income, right? I'm just doing this. It's gonna be overall average income. And that's what I could do is this. I can find these fields, and I need to find my income. Well, first of all, I have to type average. Well, average, right? And what's average? I'm gonna be looking at the average income. Where is the income? Here it is, right? So this will store average income. But see, this is because we are creating we are creating the standalone calculation, and this one is actually the name of the worksheet in Excel file from which the data was uploaded from, and this is a column in Excel worksheet. So let's go ahead and click OK. Well, see, this is a calculation. It's standalone. It's stored only once, right? Embedded calculation will be added as a column. Standalone is a single calculation, but let's do this. Let's create another embedded calculation. I just wanted to show you more advanced. Suppose that I want to track perhaps average income for state, something like that, right? So let's do this. I can do create, and I can create the calculation, right? And let's say average income for a state, right? So in each row, I want to show state, and I show the income, and I also want to show the average income for the state. Okay, so how do we do this? We have to take an average, right? For sure, we have to take an average here. And what are we averaging on? We're gonna do an average of income, right? So, well, you can drag and drop, or you can type it, whatever you like it, right? Income. But now this is very important here. Oops. Because we are not taking the overall average income. We want to do by what? By state, right? So I have to specify this for, and in here, I need to specify the column. And the column name is what? The state, right? Or the state code, whatever I want to use. But let's see if I type it, if it gives me, probably not. Oh, it does. Well, you see that it does. I can select this. Let's see what happens. Let's see if I do validate, worked. See this? And also what I could do is if I wanted to, I could do the preview. In here, this is a preview. Well, I'm just gonna show me first couple rows. See this? So this is average income, right? I'm not rounding it, but this is income for the state, and this is a state, okay? So it's gonna add this column like this. All right, so I'm gonna click on OK. Another thing that you want to do, you can do is that you can, well, first we save it. You can add the data groups, right? And I'm gonna get to it, but let's see what's next. This is a calculation. I showed you calculation. Well, data group. Data group is also known as binin. basically, if you have a numeric column, you can bin it, right? You can look, well, let's say, I think the easiest example is probably your grade. Because, well, you can look at your grade as a percentages, right? Like if you got 85%, if you got 90%, etc. But binning in this case is going to be letter grade. For example, if you receive the grade 90 or above, it's going to be an A. 80 to 89 is going to be a B. So this is, you can look at it as a data group. Because the instructor, when she goes to the, when instructors go to the, submit your grades, right? We don't put your actual grade, like the percentage grade, we put the letter grade, right? So this is a good example probably of binning. So let's see how it works in here. So for example, I want to say I have an income, right? And I want to bin my people based on income. I can do in here. Well, let's see which field I'm using here. I want to use the same column actually that you see in the slides. Oh, well, in here I'm being in a different one. I'm using number of policies. Now I'm grouping number of policies in here. So let's stay with the same examples that I'm doing. There is a column called number of policies, and maybe my column could be skewed or something like that, right? So I want to group it, right? Like for example, I could say like grades, right? Or letter grades. If most of my class got an A, and then I have some like few people got a B, few people got a C, etc. So I can say, okay, A and below an A, things like that. So you can group categorical columns. You can also create group for the numeric, right? So let's do this. Let's create a data group. But see this, I'm using the income now. I'm gonna create the data group. See this? Well, this is a column name. This is gonna be the column. This is gonna be the column new name. It's gonna be adding a new column. Every calculation, embedded calculation, is a new column. So here, it's gonna create the group, right? Suppose that I'm not interested in like in the most of the surveys, we're not specifying the actual income. We're specifying the range, right? So here, this is what you would do for income. Okay. Well, I just selected income. But in the slides, you're looking at a different field. It's a number of number of policies, right? Number of policies. Yes, so you can look at the number of policies and do the same thing, right? Number of policies. See, if I don't see it, I have to type it. Number of policies. See it here? I can do this and I can do create data group. Okay. Well, see this here, it grouped. I'm looking at above 8, 6 to 8, 5 to 6, and etc. Right? Well, but what this will do, it works a little bit different. Here I'm gonna hit create, but here you can also specify if you have a missing value, what to do with it, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and click create. Well, what is it gonna do is it's gonna add this column and then also gonna add the hidden column. The hidden column will store the bin. Okay, well, because what it does here is that it stores the new value, right? And also it stores the bin number into which that value falls under. I believe what I did was I tried to illustrate this for you in here. See this? I tried to illustrate, but I have a little typo here. It should say bin 1, bin 2, right? Bin 3, bin 4, bin 5. But this is a bin number, and this is here. You have original column, right? You have an original column, and you have the bin number, and you have a new value, right? The bin value. Okay, so this is how you would do for numeric. For categorical, it's slightly different because it does not provide you the default number of bins, right? Here you get the default, and even if you don't like it, you can always edit the group, right? If you don't like it, see, this is here. The group will be listed here as one of the columns. And if I don't like the way I did something, I can always do edit data group, and I can change the number of bins, and I can also change these ranges, right? I can change it if I want to. For the categorical, it works slightly different because you don't have the predefined categories. You have to explicitly set up, right? And what I did was I created the video for you on how to create on how to be in the categorical column. So I'm gonna delete this. So I created the video, and basically the main difference is that for the categorical columns, close and reopen. That should do it. Okay, so for the categorical columns, the number of group is not specified, right? Like in this example in here, what I'm doing, I'm taking this the policy. I'm taking the policy column, right? And I want to group it. If it's policy corporate L1, L2, L3, L4, I want to group them under one category called corporate. Personal, I want to group them into personal. And special, I want to group them as a special, right? I have to define my groups in here. So let's do this. Let's go to the in here. This is my, where is it? Policy, right? Okay, so what I'll do here, I'm gonna do here and create a data group. Create a data group. And because I don't have the data groups here, I need to create the new group. And I'm gonna put what? Corporate, right? Corporate. And well, that corporate. And then what I'm gonna do? I have to add the values. So I'm gonna select this, click here. So this is gonna be added under corporate. And list here is this is a list of the values that have not been grouped yet, right? Then I'm gonna create a new group, right? And I'm gonna call it what? Personal, right? Okay, and what am I gonna do with this? I'm gonna take this here and I'm gonna add this to the personal, right? I'm gonna add this to the personal. And then I can also do the special. But of course, if you have something complicated, you can write the code. Yes, it's possible to write the code for all of this calculation implementation. Now, and I'm gonna do another one. This is gonna be what? The special, okay? Okay, now, well, and in the special, I'm gonna put these guys here. Okay, so you got this, right? But unlike with the numeric columns, it's not gonna show you the group number, okay? Well, so now you know this, right? You know the differences. You know what a data group is, hopefully, right? I'm just grouping these values. Or sometimes when you have too many values, perhaps, and you want to do the pie chart, right? Pie chart gets really cluttered when you have too many values. So you probably want to do the group, right? Something like that. So let's take a look. Again, we did that. And now there's going to be a bunch of slides that I'm going to skip. You know why? Because we already covered this, right? We already covered this. Okay, let's see. Do I have a question? Oh, yes, save your work. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I need to save the work. And how do I know that my work was not saved? Because I see this little asterisk. Oh, yes, thank you very much for reminder. Yes, I have to save my work, see? Now, we talked about this, right? And remember that when you look at this visualization, it will show you only the predictors that have a strength 10% or above, right? Remember that. Well, this is how you can just edit drivers. In that visualization, you can change what drivers you use, right? You're just gonna click on a slot, you're gonna click on the target, and you can change drivers that you use, right? I would have shown you now in exploration if I did not lose that visualization, right? But anyway, remember that you can do that. You will have to do it for assignment 3. And I created 3 videos. I created a video on driver analysis. I created a video on a sunburst and on a decision tree, okay? So there are 3 videos that you will watch for assignment 3, and it will tell you exactly what you need to do. In the videos, it tells you what you need to do. There is a secret in there. So, but don't tell it to people who don't watch, okay? They have to watch. Okay, so this one I spelled it out. We looked at this. We looked at the driver analysis. But as I was learning it at some point, I took notes and I want you to have a copy of this. See? So each leaf node, I was right. If each leaf node no more than 12, no more than 25 data rows, no more than 36 nodes, okay? And this box, you may have wondered, what is this? It shows you which area of the tree you're currently looking at. And you will have to kind of like zoom in, zoom out, collapse the nodes that you don't need, because somehow you have to take a screenshot, but you only want to take a screenshot of the areas that you're looking at, right? So that's something to bear in mind, right? And we talked about the rules, right? So you can think about it as a profile of claims with an average, and this is what falls under this average claim amount, right? So if you have a car, you can kind of like estimate what the total claim amount is going to be, right? You can just traverse the tree. I also discussed this, right? And I showed you, we talked about the sunburst visualization. So just remember, decision tree actually focused on the rules, and sunburst is focused more on a percentage, right? Or ratio, or whatever you call it, a proportion, part of the rules, part of the population to which the rule applies, right? And some data sets that you may select from, they have more than 10,000 data rows. So it's going to take the sample. Just remember that it's going to be taking the sample, okay? Now, oh, this is another thing that I didn't show you, but it should be relatively quick. It cooperates. But first thing, I saved it, right? I'm closing this data module. Now I'm going to go to my exploration. This is an exploration, right? Remember what I did, the changes that I did? They're all going to be in here. I added the data group, right? I added another data group. Did I add this calculation? I can use it in visualizations too. Why not, right? And then what else did I do here? I did a lot of stuff, right? All of these calculations that I added, they're available. Why? Well, because I created them in data module, where that I used for this as a data source, okay? So now, next thing what we'll do is, well, this card, I can use this card. So here as a card, right? So I'm showing what? Employment status and the total claim amount. And my question is this, does the gender have an impact on total claim amount? So we know employment status, right? Now we want to look at how, I mean, we want to look at the gender as well, right? And we want to look at it side by side. So this is what I could do. I could duplicate this thing. I duplicated, right? Now what I can do on this one, on my first one, I'll go to data slots, and I want to do the filter, but this time I want to filter by gender, right? So where is the gender? I want to filter, but this is a little bit tricky. You want to make sure that this is highlighted, see this? Otherwise, it might not work as you want it to. Now, the first one is going to be females, right? This visualization is for the female. Next, my next one is going to be for the guys. So I did it for the ladies, now I'm going to do for the guys. And I'm going to go here, I have to go to filters, right? And I'm going to do my gender. I'm going to drag and drop the gender. But again, I'm going to highlight. Okay. And I'm going to do the guys, right? In here. Now what I could do is this. I can take these two guys here. I select this guy. I select this. And I select this. You have to use the control key. You have to select these two. Now what you need to do, go in here, and you're going to say compare. Well, why am I doing this? Because this is, I can see this side by side. Does gender have an actual impact on what my average claim amount is? If I'm looking at the employed people, if I'm looking at the unemployed, right? So you can see it, sometimes it does. It depends on which category of employment status am I looking at, right? So, oh, this is a medical leave. Do you see this? For some reason, the total claim amount could be higher for, what is this? Oh, this is for the males. Males on medical leave, right, could have higher average claim amounts than females on medical leave, right? See this, I have side by side. And I know that sometimes it matters, right? So the middle one here, this is a medical leave, right? So we can just go like this and do comparison, right? Sometimes you want to compare side by side something. So see this? I just select this data point, and the same data point is selected in my other visualization, right? So you see that there is some impact, right? So that's what it does. But terminology could be a little bit confusing. So first to say, let me clarify what you need to do for your assignment. In your assignment, the first Cognos assignment, you're asked to do, the last question asked to do the comparison visualization. It's not asking you for this, but what it's asking you is this. So I'm gonna go to new, and for the last question in the assignment, you need to select any of this. You select any of this, whichever one you like, and visualize whichever columns you like and explain what the visualization shows, okay? So this is what you need to do for the last question. I clarified it because some people still get confused. And please remember, assignment 2 will not be open until you submit this little assignment. In this little assignment, the idea is to show, for you to show that you know how to access the application, you know how to copy the data from the shared folder, you know how to create basic data exploration, right? You know how to look at this diagram, right? And etc. It's just basics. The assignment 2, it starts series, it creates data module, and you'll be looking at the housing data. And in there, I'll just give you a hint. The idea is to estimate the value of the house. The idea is to estimate the value of the house, and there are some missing values that you have to discuss how you handle them. And you're gonna need to refer, trust me, you're gonna need to watch this recording again. Yes, you will need to watch this recording again before you work on assignment 2, right? You may have to go through steps multiple times because sometimes it makes sense after you see it more than once, okay? Trust me, it's not just you, it's everybody. Every semester, people need to watch it more than once. Okay? Now, and let's see. Oh, this is just how to save. When you save the work, make sure that you selected my content. If you attempt to save to shared folder, nope, you're gonna have problems, okay? You're gonna get an error. Okay, this is a link, that's a gift. This is a playlist that I created for you. This link is also in a classroom. There is a variety of videos, okay? How to handle missing values for numeric, for categorical, and etc. So there are a lot of stuff, and I think you will find it helpful. Well, sometimes a student asks how to do something, right? In certain situations, it's easier to show. So I made a recording and I said, wait a minute, why don't I make this available for the whole class? Because others can benefit from that too, right? So that led to that playlist, okay? Now, what you're gonna do after this session, very important. Let me go back to the welcome page. Make sure, please make sure that you can access this. And also, when you click on the team content, that you see these folders. If you don't see those folders, submit the case. This is a no-brainer. I can fix this in no time, okay? If you don't see, because it's controlled slightly differently, you get access, right? You get access to the system, but the content that you see here is controlled by the group membership. So anyway, a long story short, if you don't see those folders, submit the Salesforce ticket, and I have access to this. So whenever the cases related to like assignments helps, right? Well, basically the way it's gonna look this way. What Abel cannot handle based on what Abel does not have access to handle, I'll take over. If anything that requires my attention, such as like privileges, roles, issue with your access, then I'm gonna do and check if I reproduce the issue on my end. If I do, I fix it. If not, then probably Abel will need a screen share because sometimes the issue is on the student end. You might be having something like something that blocks the site, right? Something that checks the site security and thinks the site is insecure. So, well, variety of things could happen. Okay, so yeah, if anything happens, see, you want to work on that assignment as soon as possible, because if anything happens and if the issue is beyond my control, beyond Abel control, we would have to escalate it, and that could take a little bit of time. So please after this session, please check your access, okay? Because I do on my end what I can to validate. Once in a while things happen, but usually not, but once in a while you cannot. Okay, now, are there any questions? Please, questions. I love questions. Okay. Well, I know you guys tired. It has been almost 2-hour session. So if there are no questions, then I'm gonna end this session. And what I'll do is I'm gonna send the recording and the slides to your faculty, okay? How about that? Does it sound fair? I'm gonna send the recording. So let me see what the chat. Oh, sure. And we're gonna have another session. So mark your calendar, please. So today is the 9th. We're gonna have it in 4 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4. April 6th is gonna be our second session, okay? We're gonna have a second session on April 6th. Mark your calendar at 8 p.m. this same time, okay? Okay, and that time and that day, we're gonna cover the dashboards and we're gonna cover stories and that lesson, and also how to use the application to work in the groups. Your last assignment is group, okay? So yes, and you're most welcome, and I hope you guys enjoy using the application, and we will talk to you later, right? Okay, with that being said, I'm gonna stop the recording, and I'm gonna send this presentation to your faculty, but where is it? First of all, stop recording. Okay, good.